Okay, this is a brief introduction to conic sections, our last unit for the year. And if we take this cone and we slice it different ways, if we slice it like this way right here, we're going to get a circle. Okay, this guy. Remember, take a look at these pictures that I put online for you. If we slice it this way, we're going to get an ellipse. This guy right here. Alright? If we slice it right here, you'll see it intersects once. We're going to get a parabola, like that. And if we slice the cone here, we're going to hit it twice, and we're going to get a hyperbola where it has two halves to it. Alright, so take a look at those pictures in Classroom to help you out. To visualize that, it'll make it easier to see. So the first one we're going to talk about, first slice here, is a circle. If we cut this cone this way, like a little wedge, then we're going to get a circle. And the form of a circle, the equation for a circle, you don't have to memorize. Just have it handy and be organized. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k is the center of that circle and r is the radius. So h comma k is the center of the circle and r is the radius, and we plug in those numbers. So for instance, for number 1, we're given the center and the radius. Here's the center, here's the radius, so that's h, that's k, and that's r. And then we just write the equation. They want us to write the equation of the circle. So we're going to use this formula using these numbers. So we're going to get h plus 4, be careful, x minus a negative 4 becomes a plus 4, x plus 4 squared plus y minus 6 squared is equal to 16, because 4 squared is 16, and the 6 we put in here. Okay, so negative 4 comes down here, the 6 comes down here, and the 4 squared comes down here. Alright, so for number 2, with this information, you're going to have x minus 0 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 49. Be careful, remember y minus negative 2 equals y plus 2, and then equals 49. So, can we do anything more with that? Yeah, I guess we could just write that as x squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 49. Now for number 3, do the same thing. We're going to get x minus 1 squared plus y plus 5 squared. Remember, the minus and negative is a plus, is equal to 10. And it's 10 because radical 10 times radical 10 is equal to 10. So the purpose of giving extra questions is because each problem has an extra piece, a new piece that they want to make you familiar with. Alright? So here we have the center here and the radius here, so just be careful. There's an extra algebraic piece that comes up. That's why I do this. It's going to be x minus 9 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to 5 square roots of 3 squared. And they want to make sure you know how to do that, alright? So 5 square root of 3 times 5 square root of 3, you're going to do 5 times 5 and get 25. You're going to do root 3 times root 3 and get 3. So when you square that, it's going to equal 75 later, because we're going to need that. So this part's going to be x minus 9 squared plus y squared is equal to 75. So the only reason why they gave you this new problem is they want to make sure you know how to handle 5 root 3 times 5 root 3. So it's the 5 times the 5, get 25, root 3 times root 3 is 3, and we get 25 times 3 is 75. And down here for 5, they gave us the circle and they want us to write the equation given the circle. Well, we can see it's 1, 2, 3, negative 3 comma negative 4, so it looks like our circle is centered at negative 3 comma negative 4, and the radius is 2. So instead of just giving us the information like up here, they give us a graph, and then we can find the information from the graph. And then we write the equation. So it's going to be x plus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 4. Likewise here, they give us a center of 0 comma 1. So our center is 0 comma 1, and our radius, just count it off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's the number of spaces from the center to the outside of the circle. So our radius is equal to 6. So therefore we can write the equation now. X squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 36. Okay. Moving on here, they get a little trickier. Every problem has a separate purpose, so that's why they're not repeats of the same exact type problem. Now, given the center and an endpoint, so instead they give us a circle and they give us an endpoint. They don't tell us the radius, but we can figure it out using the distance formula. So we should remember the distance formula, and it'll help us here. So distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 quantity squared plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared. And the midpoint formula, you don't have to memorize, is when you add the 2 points and divide by 2. So if you have 2 points down here and you want to find the midpoint, you add these 2 points and divide by 2. So that's what's happening for the midpoint formula. So it's x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So those are the two formulas that we need to use in order to do these. So for number 7, we're going to find the radius. In order to find the radius, we have to find the distance right here. So it's an extra piece. So we have to use the distance formula to find the radius there. So the radius is going to equal, so you have to do -2 minus negative. So what's the difference between those two? Those difference is 2. It actually doesn't matter whether it's minus or plus. I always think about how far apart is it on the number line. It's 2 spaces away on the number line. Forget the minus or the plus. Okay? Because in the end, it's just how many spaces away. How far is 6 away from 12 on the number line? 6 spaces. So forget the minus and the plus. I don't actually like using formulas, to be honest with you. Okay, it's going to be 6 squared. It doesn't matter if it's 6 squared or minus 6 squared. It's still going to give you 36. Distance is always positive, so it's not really worth it. Just ask yourself how far on the number line are they. So the radius is going to equal to the square root of 4 plus 36. So the radius is going to equal to the square root of 40. So our radius is the square root of 40. So now we can write the equation. It's going to be x. So the center is already given to -2 comma 6. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 40. Again, because the square root of 40 times the square root of 40 is 40. Now let's try that again. We have the center. So we know the center and we know the endpoint. So just like this picture shows, we have to find this distance right here. So we have to find the distance. So the distance is equal to the square root. We don't use the endpoint. The midpoint comes down here when we're given both endpoints. So we're not using that yet. Okay. So distance right here. How far is -4 from -1 on the number line? It's 3 spaces. Don't worry about the positive or the negative. How far is -7 away from -5? 2 spaces. So it's 2 spaces away. So the distance, which is the radius, is going to equal to the square root of 9 plus the square root of 4. So the distance is equal to the square root of 13. So our radius is equal to the square root of 13. So now we can write the equation, which is the center. Center is -4, -7. So it's x plus 4 squared plus y minus -7. So y plus 7 squared is equal to square root of 13 squared, which is 13. Okay. A couple more of these. So the radius here is equal to, how far is 0 away from 7? 7 squared. How far is 4 away from -2? 6 squared. So the radius is equal to the square root of 49 plus 36. So the radius is equal to the square root of 85. So therefore, the center is 0, 4. So it's going to be x squared, no minus 0, you don't need to put that, plus y minus 4 squared again, because it's 4. Y minus 4 squared, that's the center, they gave it to us. Okay, is equal to 85, because the square root of 85 squared is 85. Over on number 10. Again, they're giving us a center and an endpoint, so it's another case of this, center and an endpoint, so we're still using the distance formula. So the radius is equal to, now how far is 3 away from -4? That's 7 spaces away. 7 spaces, doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. Again, it's how far it is on the number line. -3 to 13, -3 to 10, I gave you the answer. 13 spaces. So the reason why we gave you these extra problems is to give you one negative with one positive. That's the reason why we get these extra examples. So the radius is equal to the square root of 49 plus 169. So we add those together and we're going to get 218. So the radius is equal to square root of 218. So now we can go ahead, remember to use the right one. The center is 3, -3. So it's going to be x minus 3 squared, because it's minus h, x minus h squared, that's h there, plus y minus k, what's k squared is 3, so x minus -3 is y plus 3 squared, so that's k right there, k, and that equals 218. Now the bottom part here is a little bit different. That's the part where they give us the two endpoints. So we have to find the midpoint to find the rate, to find the center. So we need to find the center, and then once we have the center, then we know that then we have to find the distance. We take half that distance, or we can just find the distance between these 2 points or these 2 points. So we have a choice after that. So we have to use the distance formula, and we have to find the midpoint formula. So let's do the distance first. So the distance is going to be the diameter all the way across. So the distance or the diameter is equal to, how far is this? -1 and 5, that's 6 squared. How far is 8 from 6? That's 2 spaces apart. So the distance all the way across is equal to this 36 plus 4, so it's going to be the square root of 40. So the distance equals the square root of 40, so the distance is equal to square root of 4 and the square root of 10. So the distance is equal to 2 radical 10. So that is our diameter. So that means our radius has to half that, so a radius is equal to radical 10. So our distance is radical 10, so we do need the midpoint formula because we don't know what the center is. So the center, well, we have -1 comma 8, and we have 5 comma 6, so we have to add the 2 x's. Add the 2 x's together and we get 4. Add the 2 y's together and we get 14. And then we divide them by 2, and we get 2 comma 7. So our center is 2 comma 7. So therefore we can write our equation now. We can use either point. We can use, so we have x minus 2 squared plus y minus 7 squared is equal to, and radical 10 squared is equal to 10. Now over here, again, we do the same thing. We find the distance all the way across because they're endpoint problems. So the distance all the way across is going to equal to 8 squared and then plus 6 squared. So the distance is equal to what? 64 plus 36. So our diameter, or distance all the way across, is equal to the square root of 100. So the distance all the way across is 10. Well, that means our radius is equal to 5. And we need to find the midpoint between these, right, to find the center. Again, because we have this scenario here, so we need to find the midpoint there. So we have 0, -3, and we have -8, comma 3. We add those two together, and we get -8, and we get 0. So it's -8 over 2, which is -4, and 0 over 2, which is 0. So our center is -4, comma 0. So -4, 0 is our center. So now that we have our center and we have our radius of 5, we put that together, and we have x plus 4 squared, it's minus -4, plus y squared is equal to 25. Now on the bottom here, same thing, different numbers, different scenario. So what do we have? So we have the distance all the way across. It's going to equal to, that's going to be 6 squared, and it's going to be 6 squared, so it's going to be the distance equals the square root of 72. So that's going to be the distance is equal to 6 root 2. In case you know, it's the square root of 36 times the square root of 2. So that means the radius is equal to 3 root 2. And therefore the midpoint, what's the midpoint? -4, 10, and 2 comma 4. So that's going to add to -2, and that's going to add to 14. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and you're going to get -1 comma 7. So -1 comma 7 is our center. So we're going to have x plus 1 squared plus y minus 7 squared is equal to 3 root 2 times 3 root 2. So 3 root 2 times 3 root 2. This is 9 times 2, so it's 18. So this is going to equal to 18. And our last one, for the sake of time, I did this last one here. The distance is going to be, it's 2 squared plus 4 squared, square root of 20. So it's going to be 4 root 5. So it's 2 root 5. So the radius is 2. And then you get the midpoint, which is -15, -15. So it's going to be x plus 15 squared plus y plus 15 squared is equal to radical 5 squared, which is equal to 5.